up, Internet? This is Adam Dilbeck. I am the paid and social media specialist here at Extu, and
I am Nichole Gunn, the Chief Marketing Officer.
And we are the mid-marketers. We are here to expand and grow your business. And today we're going to talk about something that's not fun, right?
Well, it depends on how you look at it.
Okay.
Right? Which I think is the whole point of the podcast.
We're here to talk about the recession. Whether it's, a recession or, like business.
Or a great reset.
A great reset, or even if it's good. Basically how you can take incentives, three ways to take incentives and survive a recession, or grow if it's a boom time, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, it's funny right now, right? Because depending on who you ask, you some people say we're in a recession. Some people say, don't worry about it. I tend to go back and forth myself week to week, though I would think with inflation lasting as long as it has, mass layoffs that are happening, I tend to lean myself one way, but that's neither here nor there. Ultimately, as businesses, when this time happens, we have some decisions to make, right? And that's what we want to talk about today.
Yep. And let's talk about you a little bit. I think first we wanted to you've got experience.
Well, anyone in my age group has experience. I mean, but you're right? Like our group came out of college in 2004, 2005 era.
Yeah.
And 2008 was coming,
yep.
Right? Then 2008 happened, and that was awful. And then we just relived 2000, or I shouldn't say relived, but we just lived through 2020, and that was a whole shit show. So yeah,
we've seen some things.
We've seen some things.
Addicted to banging on this damn table.
Don't be judgy.
So I mean, like you haven't just been incentives this whole time. Like you've worked for. You did manufacturers. You were a buyer for somebody, right? Like flooring companies, and we've been in the channel.
I've been in the channel, yes.
Cool.
Hey, what? Where are you going with this?
Nothing. Just to give people a little bit of background. Like you.
Oh.
I mean, yes. Anybody who was born and has been our age has seen things, but I'm saying like you've got a unique perspective on business and marketing and how to do things during these downtimes or uptimes, because you've been in higher positions doing both. Like you've been all the way through the chain, and you made it pretty high for your age. So
sure. No, it's funny. Right out of college, you did your basic interning, and I was really fortunate. I got to work with some agencies and some really like enterprise level makeup manufacturer, and so that's like so long ago. Where my career really started to take off was when I really started in banking, right? And I was doing marketing and banking, and it was so boring, right? I had no disrespect to the banks. I love the banks. I think that there's a lot going on now that would make it more fun, but we're trying to think of a way to get people to spend money and invest in their financial future. And so we created a Who's Sam campaign, and that ended up working out. And I thought, you know what? Why don't you bring your advertising background into this? Took that into, I did become a buyer. I graduated college around that time and became a buyer for a flooring distributor, actually, not the manufacturer, but I got to work with so many manufacturers, and I got to really look at how the channel worked. And what was interesting about that is it wasn't your traditional to-consumer marketing and advertising, right? It was so vastly different. And it was, at the time, there just weren't many women in it. And I thought, okay, well, this is an opportunity. And also, naively, I didn't realize how much of our, GDP actually runs through a channel. So it was really cool to kind of get involved with and learn. And then, I got lucky. I don't want to say accidentally, that sounds bad, but I applied for this role for a proposal and marketing coordinator at a former incentive company, right? Or I say former, they were acquired by another incentive company, and that happens, right? But I learned so much, and I just really started to fall in love with the idea of, yes, a slogan, right? And the slogans are catchy, and get your just do it, and your, Red Bull gives you wings and all the things. But ultimately, we were really building something for long-term growth for companies and solving problems. And anyways, that I got lucky in 2008. I ended up here, formerly Incentive Solutions. Our founder was, he reached out and he said, hey, look, interested in having you come over and interview. One of our former colleagues talked you up. I'd like to meet and see what you could do for the business, because he was in a growth mindset. And that was, I think, to this day, one of the reasons I respect him so much is he's always in a growth mindset. So anyways, long and short of it, I ended up here, and we started taking off. I kept getting opportunities. He really invested in my career, and and this was in 2008. I literally joined the business in 2008. I was kind of nervous, right? Like, oh my God, what have I done? I left job security to come over here. And anyways, we just started performing and
Never look back.
And but it taught me some valuable lessons.
Here we grow.
Both in leadership management, or I say both, but really kind of a trifecta, right, of leadership management, which are two very different things, and also how to handle business in a recession.
Right.
You just really get hands-on with that. So
yeah, because that was a mean one.
That was a mean. It was. Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah. Like what did I wasn't around yet, but like what did you guys do? Because that's what we're here to talk about. 3 ways to stave it off. There are a lot of things that people do wrong that we disagree with and think you should probably change. And there's some things we did and things we recommend, and that's what we're here to talk about.
Yeah, so here, back in 2008, I think it was really interesting, right? We had to sit down first and, really just kind of look at, so keep in mind, we do 3 different award types here, right? We have the online rewards, we have card rewards, so both gift card and debit cards, and then we have group travel incentives. And group travel got hit hard, especially at that time. If you guys will recall, Obama was coming in and hitting the travel industry really hard, saying, oh, these companies that go out and they do these big group trips and it's all just booze and all the things. And what the other side of that was, well, yes, it's an award for performance. And I'm not saying that all those I'm trying to remember the names of the companies now, you guys. It's a Thursday, but not that should ever matter.
That's like, I don't know what that has to do.
But like these investment banks,
companies like Enron and AIG,
that's what I was trying to specifically think. I'm not saying that they were all perfect, but these were built in, they were paid for, and they were earned based on.
Yeah, well, not all incentive trips were created equal either. To be fair,
that's fair.
Yeah,
but it's also not all businesses created equal. I mean, if you're dealing in millions and billions of dollars, it's going to be at a higher level than someone who's dealing in
rewards to get the sharks there to sell shit for you.
Well, that's exactly right. And they are paying for it, and so you're going to have to award accordingly. I mean, it's like if I were to say, "Hey, Adam, here's a $5 gift card," you go, "What the hell am I going to do with this?" You don't care.
I know exactly what I'd do with it.
What is that?
Wipe my butt with it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. Have it, guys. It's weird. But no, but it's the same kind of thing. If you take someone who earns millions of dollars every year,
and give them an Harvey's card,
or not even that, you go, "Hey, we're gonna go do Fun of the Sun in Mexico." They're gonna go, "What?" Like, describe Fun of the Sun. There's this level of Fun of the Sun, and there's this level. If it's just going and sitting by the pool, no, thank you. But they're gonna want this big extravagant event because they've earned it.
Food supplied by Cisco. No hate to Cisco, but like, are they really cooking it or is it processed? Because the places they go don't make processed food. I've noticed a difference in all the all-inclusive and everything. Some of them have food that comes in on a truck, and some of them have fresh food.
That, I think, the parties and the adventure, like all the things you're gonna do. I mean, you just
all of it.
Yeah, totally.
Everything. Yeah.
But now that we've gone on a tangent, to circle it back, we do 3 major award types. I mean, you had to look at the business and go, what's really going to be affected? And for us, because we've always really targeted the building industry, building manufacturing in particular, going back to 2008, we were kind of like, it was our oh shit moment to go, okay, where else do we go? And so the first and foremost, it was a market eval. Like, what industries are projected to do well? Also, one of our other industries that we were really into at the time was banking. You can imagine how well that went over, right? So yeah, we were just hit, down the line.
Win after win after win after win.
Exactly right. But interestingly enough, one of the industry or the markets that were still doing well at that time, and we're really getting more into like the not necessarily new, but was automotive. And so we said, okay, guys, we got to make a decision to go into automotive. And then we started going into trucking and some other things. I
was going to say, was that like the logistics? And because I saw that we had a ton of truck stuff back in the day. I did a deep dive on the programs, recently on the industries, and like a third of them were trucking and logistics. Man, that's crazy.
Well, it was a great market.
Yeah.
And then no disrespect to OSHA, you have your place, but all these what's the word I'm looking for? Like
safety
regulations started coming into place, and we go, hey, look, this is like too much for us. We don't want to go down that path, but we partnered with a company who could, so they took the programs and we just did the award fulfillment. But
yeah, because then it becomes like where you're rewarding them if they're hitting hours, but then they're skipping things and yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like
if we go 100 days in the warehouse and no one has an accident, we get this award. But if Adam falls and hurts himself, knock 3 times, let's just cover it up and don't tell anyone. But that's a bigger problem.
Because
right?
I want that Arby's gift card.
Totally.
Exactly.
Nothing like an Arby's gift card. So clearly we're plugging Arby's today.
Way to go.
But that was first and foremost, and I think one of the things that Steve did well, and keep in mind, guys, we were a very small business, right? You're talking about $3 million in revenue a year, give or take, at this time. But he said, Nichole, look, you're extremely talented. I'm going to invest in you while the market's down. So he pulled back, invest in the people that he believed that could grow the company. And then we started rocking and rolling pretty quick. We invested in marketing immediately, and now we're sitting
pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, some
Prettier
takeaways.
Prettier.
And then I tell you what, it's
That's crazy. Really, just 3 million in like 08, 09? Because I came around like 10, and it was much bigger than.
Well, we didn't really do marketing beforehand, right? And so, and the interesting thing about that point in time, if you think about how we chose to go about marketing, we decided to do digital marketing, right? So that sort of traditional like flyers. And by the way, guys, I do think flyers are coming back. I'm not talking about like snail mail and all that. Like, it has a place today, much more so than it did back then.
Things you can touch.
Right. But we started breaking out of that. We were the first in our industry to really do that. You were part of all of that, right? We started getting into
blog.
We started getting into search engine marketing, and we started really getting into paid, dipping our toes in social, and social was kind of a later thing really that we dove into. But we started an education series. We started bringing marketing to the incentive industry that had never really been done before, which is make it interesting, right? We made it, it's more than just rewards, because there's so much more to incentives than just rewards. We can help you track sales and provide data so you really understand what's going on in your channel, and get you the consumer information that you need if you're a manufacturer so that you can market to them later, et cetera, et cetera. So we really took a different approach, and we took that downtime to properly plan, still invest in marketing, and we just took off. It was really smart. It was really great to be a part of, because the learning for me during that time was like, I was still young, so your brain's like a sponge, right? Yeah.
Well, and that ties into kind of the 3 things that we recommend people do, right? Like, one of the things is customer loyalty. Obviously, you don't want to cut on your marketing when you hit that kind of thing. Like, it feels like Steve and the organization at the time really started pumping into marketing versus everyone else, because when everybody else is shrinking, you're expanding. That gives you a good place to stand out and
it did
get a big competitive differentiator in a market that's hiding, really, right?
It absolutely did. And I used to always tell Steve, like, we need to be going to these different industry events. And he was so smart. He goes, why? Why the hell would we go talk to our, competitors? He said, I'm not saying shy away from our competitors or don't share with our competitors.
Know what they're doing.
Well, but he was like, our place is where our business is, and worry about building your brand there, right? Or building our brand there. And so I really took that to heart. You're right. I can go and become a big name with my competitors, but what good is that doing me if I'm trying to grow? We're growth marketers. I want to be where the next sell is, or someone I can help, right? And that's not necessarily always my competitor. So
no, not at all, because you need to target your customers. Like loyalty, right? Like, that's a great time to shore up loyalty on top of like working new customers. You can stand out, but money's tight. You need to keep people at that, right?
No, totally. And I think for anyone who's dealing, like, if we go into recession, you have to think about that, right? Like, who is your market? Now, we didn't do this in 2008, but we did this in 2020. And I was a big proponent for this because, and then really pushing it because it was just 2008, 2020 was so different, right? But what we had to look at, is in terms of customer loyalty, is which of our clients are getting hit hard, right? And 2020 had some major impacts. We were all aware of that. And
channel got messed up big time.
Well, and everything we do is channel, right? And so understanding that in 2020, one of the and guys, I got to tell you, this was not an easy conversation with our CFO and operation teams, because obviously they're trying to keep our cash steady at the same time. But we have I'll use one of our clients as an example, but I'm not gonna name drop, but they work in hospitality. It's a very big cruise line. We all know how that went. They were impacted for long after even other industries were impacted. And we had to go back and say, hey, you know what, guys, let's make some concessions here. What can we do to help you? And we can keep charging at 100%, so that we're profitable, but I don't want to be a vendor to someone. I want to be a partner. And you know what? Now when they want to grow, guess who they call? We're even doing more than just incentives for them now. We're actually opening up a dev shop to do some dev fulfillment, etc. Customer loyalty, it's such a big deal. We have, and they're not the only ones, right? But we also had other clients in the channel. We have some right now who are saying, look, like some of our lumber companies as an example, lumber yards is what I should really say. And they're going, look, the cost of lumber is so expensive. We need to be thinking about how we can use our materials as an award. And they're totally right. So let's start getting into, I don't know why I forget the name of this word, but it's that instead of going and using your we use the online reward program, but also use your own sponsor items. Sponsor fulfilled.
There
right?
it is.
Like sponsor fulfilled items, right? And put that in your catalog and let your clients redeem for that so that they can keep their costs down and they can keep things moving through the channel.
How hard is it to put? I mean, like, because a lot of these people have a lot of inventory, or is it just something where we plug their like online inventory into their program and then they have that in there?
Yeah,
maybe a bigger discussion in here.
I feel like we're gonna have to go get Kelly.
Yeah.
But no, honestly, it's not very hard. Typically, we can use something as simple as a name to create an SKU, and then it treats it like any other sort of redemption, right? We do the fulfillment here with our customer service team, and they just send the invoices out.
And to your participants, it feels like magic. We do it all. We're great. That's what I was saying.
No, totally. Well, hell, especially right now, right? We all, especially as marketers, have to do more with less.
Mm-hmm.
And I say marketers, I think that this is affecting a lot more than just marketing. But marketing, I feel like you always hear first, like, oh, well, recession's coming, cut the marketing team. Screech. Don't do that. That's dumb. And yes, I said everyone who makes that decision is dumb. You should be investing in marketing because here's the thing, your competitors are going to stop marketing. So go ahead and invest in that. Very valuable lesson. We talked about that a little bit, but we talked about giving your customers some concessions. Right now, if you do those things, you're the brand that people are going to call when they have the money to invest, including your own clients, right? So you're branding, you're standing out. People are going to keep on researching. They're still going to keep planning for the future. Now's the time to do it, right?
And they're also going to be online being like, looking if they can see a good deal somewhere, who's out there. Because people still have to do business. So why not be at the forefront of everybody's searches?
Yeah, that's new logo, new business, but your current clients at some point, that's where they say you can, the bulk of your increased revenue should come from. And if you're actually a client if you're actually a partner to that client, not just some vendor, and you meet them halfway and you really understand they feel like they know that you really appreciate and understand their business, and they're going to give you a lot more of it in the future. And that's really,
you're not just collecting their check. Like you said, you're a real partner. You care about their business, and you're there to work it all out instead of just.
Exactly right. Find where it should be. And we live in an age where it's all about money. And I all these PE firms and these VC firms, they own all these businesses, and it's always about the bottom line, and we got to grow it, all the things, right? And it's like, sure, but when did we lose sight of actually being partners? Well, solving solution. What did you say?
Service,
and I'm okay with service. Yeah.
Clients are who we serve. That's where
I was going with earlier. So I know the loop is making us my ADHD is on fire.
We've had a lot of caffeine this morning.
Going back, we have to do more with less. And I think when you invest in a company like ours, and if I'm going to plug today, I'm plugging Extu, that's something that we provide that others don't, right? Is that level of service. And that's just, don't worry about not necessarily having the people to execute. You have a partner in us, and we're going to meet you halfway, understanding what the business is, but also we're going to provide that level of service that you just can't hire right now.
And as much consultation as we can do. Everybody else is like, sign up and then go online, you look for FAQs, and then
fucking helpful is that?
I hate it.
Well, that's it. Oh my God, I know. And I, I love Moz. I'm going to be clear about that. I think that this is a great company. Hate that they have no customer service.
Yeah.
If you have an issue, just post it out in the community.
They're like, if you have an issue, come to MozCon and talk to us personally.
Thanks. By the way,
thanks, Rand.
He's moved on now, but maybe they could add, like, I don't know, just a customer service team. I don't even care if it's offshore, someone who can help me when I don't know what I'm
Like
doing.
at least a fucking AI chatbot or something. Like it's not that
Anything is
hard. It's everywhere.
2024, almost 5. Like, come on,
Like that's all
guys.
they talk about at MozCon. Put some AI on your website, man. Get us a chatbot.
Just a chatbot.
Yeah.
Anything would be better than what we have to deal with now. But and I tell you, I got feelings about this too, because I've hired some of the companies they have up there speaking, and they don't actually live up to their reputation. So I got a whole thing for Moz to talk about.
I think if you get the personal help of the person speaking, you're gonna get the service that they're talking about. But everything else, really?
I think that he's going to be like,
We're not gonna call them out because
absolutely not.
people and companies do what companies do.
Totally, but it is the worst.
Good sell.
This is one of the best speakers I've ever had, who preaches one thing on stage, and I had the worst experience with the company that I've ever had in dealing with an agency.
Yep. We're here to call it good companies. I want to circle back to the big 3 things. Like we kind of covered them, but like if we had to list them out 1, 2, 3, number 1 would be,
I would think the markets, like look at your current book of business, your client segment or customer segmentation, and really understand what they're going through right now in order to, 1, figure out which industries you should be targeting, keep investing in marketing, right? Because that's point 2. And then point 2 and point 3 come from point 1, right? Is really start with your market segmentation, understand what the pain points are for your current industry, work out some, the nice concessions with them, like where can you meet in the middle, build that loyalty while at the same time figuring out who you should be targeting, I don't say recession-proof because we all suffer during recessions, but who has the best opportunity for you to grow with. Or if you're not looking for, kind of think of it 2 ways. If you're not looking at it for immediate growth, right, but more of that long-term brand investment, you've got two, right? You've got growth and brand, and both of them equate to the same thing, but there's one that's more of a, like, if you're the immediate growth, right, that immediate return to revenue is going to be a little slower, so your sales cycle should increase during this time. That wouldn't be too odd, but what you're really doing is building that brand awareness, and that brand I say awareness is the right word. I want to say loyalty yet, but interest into these new markets that you could potentially bring on.
When you say new markets that you could potentially bring on, you're talking about things like finding other markets you can get into.
Exactly.
Right? Like I make bourbon, and it's a time where people stop drinking bourbon, even though sin economies never really go down. They just go up during recessions, if memory serves. But, oh my God, nobody's buying this, or something has happened. What else can I do? Well, then you take that distilled stuff and you can start selling hand sanitizer. Like you get creative with what you do. It's what you were talking about the other day.
You take the distilled stuff, the liquor, to sell hand sanitizer?
Yeah, like the unaged stuff, like alcohol or like leftover. I'm no expert in
chemicals,
distillery or chemicals or anything like that. I've toured a few, and like I get it. I've helped my brother-in-law make some, but I'm saying like they take some of the byproduct and they sell hand sanitizer to hospitals or other places because they got.
I was definitely waiting on you to come in with and sell it to school systems, and I was like,
but that's one of them, right? So like you start with hospitals, but they can't. It's just hand sanitizer.
I was thinking about the liquor part, but yeah, no, totally.
Yeah, like bourbon's on the playground, I guess is what you were getting to. Yeah. Shooting the hooch for kids at Chattahoochee High School, but it's like,
yeah, it gives that school a whole new meaning. But no, you're right. You're exactly right. Like what else could you be doing, and what are other business revenue streams you could be building,
or at least getting ready to enter and building a go-to-market for? Like, how do I get into that? Because you got a little time on your hands now. It's slow market, but loyalty is the big one. Like,
well, no, I think go back. You're talking about number 1. It's the market. Market segmentation to create 2 things, right? Loyalty and opportunity. And you're going to do that by doing your segmentation and investing in marketing.
Well, the point I was making with loyalty is that like it's great to keep the clients you have because it's cheaper to keep them around and grow that business over time, especially as you said, building that relationship, becoming a partner with them. Hi.
How'd you get out of the seat?
Yeah, I got a little too comfortable.
Well, we're starting to become. One of the things I want to ask you, because I feel like I'm getting drilled here. Like, Nichole, answer all the questions, and I'm like, but I do think it's, we're talking about these and we're saying invest in marketing, but what types of marketing should we be investing, especially if we're going for the long term? So we understand the concessions, right? That's going to be so case by case. We understand, find out the opportunities. But if we're talking about marketing tactics, right? Like, let's have a good conversation about that, because obviously you can't go full marketing. You're going to have to cut back some. I definitely don't believe you cut marketing. I want to be really clear about that. But most companies are going to anyways, no matter the opportunity that lies before them to some degree.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you're going to cut back, let's start there, right? Like, what are 3 areas in marketing you could cut back, and where would you invest?
I mean, I think obviously right nowadays, stuff like digital is not going away. Like stuff like PPC can get a little expensive. But you still want to be on Google. You still want to be on the socials. You can do things that promote your brand, like a podcast that won't cost a lot of money, right? And can get your name out there.
Yeah. But that's interesting, right? Ken, so Ken's here. How much did it cost us to set up this? It's not that expensive.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, $1,000, and you have, a small studio that you can get in, and you can educate people on your products, on your partners, on talk about loyalty and your own business, right? That's a great idea.
Yeah, you can get creative to get your brand name out there. Keep content marketing. It's just
content, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to put it in the same avenues. It's like, we've got to make a blog. We've got to put stuff on Google. You do. Don't ever stop that. But there's a lot of people in a lot of places now. You got to make TikTok. You got to make podcasts. You got to meet people where they are, and they're not all on Google. The paid ad provider.
Well, and that's interesting, right? Because you are right. You've got to think through the ecosystem of digital is how I like to look at it. And so if you're looking at that ecosystem, you recognize that this day and time, you can't just be in one place. It used to be like, oh, you have to be on Google. But and we went through this, and like, I guess over 2018, 19, we were really just on Google. And yes, Google at the time was the end all be all. But what we started to realize is a lot of companies are set up to only use Microsoft. And so you can't go to Google, right? And so with that, we had to go, okay, well, so in some of our target markets, especially like the bigger financial institutions, et cetera. So we had to start going, okay, well, let's start looking into more of the how to rank an edge, et cetera, not just Google. So that was kind of an expansion.
Bing and Yahoo and all the places, like, people are looking for you in a lot of places. People hang out in a lot of places. I interrupted. I'm sorry.
No. That's fine. It's supposed to be back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you make a good point, right? Digital's not going away, but it is evolving. And so, it's funny. I read an article the other day, and it was on Reddit. And so you put some faith into it. Google puts a lot more faith into Reddit these days than I do. But ultimately, and not that I don't love Reddit, that's my nighttime reading, my pillow reading, if you will. But
people be cray on there, and Google's like, these are valid answers. And it's not always about
never. Yeah, you have to find the one that you align best with, because it's typically opinion-based. Speaking of this article, they were essentially an opinion-based article, but I thought it was really interesting that was saying, as we continue to evolve and AI becomes a bigger deal, is Google going away? And it was a really good, I have to say, it was really well thought out to talk about how Google may, and I think it was like the next 5 years, become irrelevant because the way that AI is taking over.
Unless they make a big shift.
Totally. Yeah. And and it said as much. I should need to find that article and share it with this group, but I thought it was really interesting. And so we're talking about investing. To me, it's really training the AI tools, right? You got to do that.
Well, I think an AI powered Google would probably be better. That it's good, like, because
but
like, you can tell AI, like, and I'm sorry if I derailed your thought, but like, you can tell AI, hey, I want this and I want to know this, and give me all your sources and stuff like that. It's just going to give you an answer, but like, you can't go, unless you specifically ask for it, to go look at that link and see like the sources and all that kind of stuff. And like Google, I can see who it is, who it's from, who I trust, who I don't, and like, that's the only way I'm like.
Unless you tell it to cite the sources, that's what I do, and then
that's what I'm saying. But if you have Google powered by Gemini or Chat or whatever,
sure. But the problem right now is, to your point, of Google, and there's a lot of talk in the marketing community that Google is just pulling from these opinion-based sites, i.e., Reddit. It's not factual anymore. What were the good old days of Wikipedia? That probably wasn't 100% factual, but we all took it like it was the Bible.
Wikipedia, I mean, there's a lot of people verifying accuracy, and
sure,
they could use $3 if you can help them today.
They could use. No, it's true. You're right. They could.
Every time I go
as I'm sitting here, I've never donated. No, that's not true. We did as a business years ago, but that doesn't matter. A long time ago. I don't donate personally, and I probably should, because here I am saying I miss the good old days of Wikipedia when I could just get facts, not all the bullshit that shows up in my feed now. Because I got to tell you, Google, their biggest, and Google, I hope you're listening, their biggest fuck up was putting sponsored content, paid content, ahead of the SERPs that I'm interested in. I don't want all the sponsored stuff. I just want the answers to
Like
the
a whole
questions.
page of it. Now it's got rid of page 2, especially on mobile. You can't be like, I want to go to page 2. It's like, we're going to give you other kind of results now, and you can't see anything beyond this one
Right.
scroll.
Well, and I loved the carousel. I thought that was great, especially for like image-based searching. I think that there's some cool things they've done, but my God, the ads, and half the time it's not even anything that I'm looking for. In fact, this happened to us. We used to do these travel deals on our website, and we would say, hey, look, we had, like, in particular, we had a trip to, or a deal to Turkey, right? Specifically, Istanbul. And so we're marketing it, and people were literally, if you went and looked at the SERPs, and I'll never forget, Drill and I were like, what the hell? We were bringing in all kinds of leads for people looking for, it just happened to coincide with Thanksgiving, for turkey, right? And we were like, well, that's not what we do. Everyone who's ranking on top of us, that's not what, like, we're not in competition. Like, what is happening? It was just such a mess.
Gobble them leads.
Yeah, and so we went in and we, you D and you negative index or whatever the word is for
Turkey.
For those keywords, but like, that, you knew better, Google. You just took my money, and that's what happened. They've gone after monetizing, and I know they got to make money, right? I get it.
Business for literally.
But that's what's so sad about it. You quit caring about the user experience and you started focusing on the bottom line. And bottom lines are important. I'm not saying they're not, but the second that you quit giving a shit about the consumer, your bottom lines are going to shrink.
Yep.
Yeah.
Focus
Every
on
time.
loyalty, and now chat is going to replace you. Google.
So, or something is.
I was trying to tie it back together. I thought that was pretty good. They didn't focus on loyalty and building the right thing.
They didn't.
Market.
They focused on.
And now there's talk of them being replaced. Yeah.
And
take that to the bank.
Yeah, take that to the.
Or don't.
It's your choice. But yeah, going back, I think, it's, if we're talking about things that you should, other mediums that you should invest in, brand for the long term, is really education is imperative. Helping other people truly understand what sets you apart from everyone else, right? And that can take time. There's where's this book?
It's like certified brand ambassadors.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Everyone talks about influencers, and like, why can't you be your own influencer? Build your own credibility. Partner with the right people, help them build their credibility. I don't want to go spend, and let me be clear, there are influencers in our industry that I can go spend $10,000, $20,000 for to have them join the podcast, but that is not money well spent.
Nope, we've decided to be our own, hence the podcast.
Right, well, that, and bring in our clients, like, tell real stories. I want authenticity. I don't want some guy who's getting paid to come up and represent your brand, but he's going to be on your competitor's podcast next week. Who cares? I don't want that.
They're just selling.
They're selling themselves, and we're all to some degree over influencers now. I'm not saying that social commerce is going away. I think that's a growing trend. We've seen that in our market research, and we know this. And I know I've said this on several podcast episodes already, but you got to look into social commerce. That's something I would definitely be doing if you're not already. So e-commerce, that's been a trend. Social commerce, now finding these people both internally and externally who are doing the fun sort of like paid. Think of paid differently. It's not just this ad, click, and hopefully conversion, but it's like, here's my product. You're doing something cool with the product, and then click here below to learn more, or to buy, or to whatever, and do that hyper targeted so that you get those results. Or at the very least, you're creating that brand awareness with the people that you need to create it with, and
inviting people into your community.
Into your community, all the way down to the consumer level. And that's where people like Extu, or companies like Extu, come in handy, right? Because with the data, if you're a manufacturer and you don't ever want to cut out anyone throughout your channel, right? That isn't going to end well. But you can get that consumer information, and you can then partner with your distributors, your resellers, your installers to remarket. So like Rheem, right? They're tankless water heaters. We'll use them since we just had Lori on the previous podcast.
Yeah.
Lori can get the information of her consumers, and she can now work with her distributors and installers to market to that consumer, because she already knows the lifespan of her product. So she start marketing and building that brand awareness 2 years before, other things that may be needed, packages that they could be selling, etc. And I say packages they could be selling, think
they're educational and helpful versus just buy this.
You skipped ahead. I was trying to remember what what are those packages called? They come out and they service it for free, or warranty pack. Yeah, all those extended warranties and things like that, like service packages, etc. She knows how, because she knows the consumer now, she can market to them, and she can work with her installers and distributors to do so.
Yeah.
She's essentially building revenue for everyone throughout her channel just by knowing that information. And so, like I said, during this time, that's what you should be paying attention to, and that's what you should be investing in. channel marketing.
That's good.
101.
Sounds good to me. But I mean, like, they take it to the next level. Obviously, you can listen to our last podcast that Lori's on. It's great info. You know, they do good stuff. Check Renee out, right?
Totally. Yeah. Well, I put it in my home. I love their product. There's nothing like having instant hot water, but you know, they have a lot of other products too. But that's not the point here, right? The point is really just saying, using that as an example. If we're talking about what you want to invest in, you want to invest in channel marketing all the way through. So not only are you building revenue for yourself, but you're, in her case, or in their case, you're becoming a true partner for everyone throughout your channel, right? To help them build revenue, and you're actually helping the consumer. And that's the big picture. And that's what I love about her and her marketing style. She's always got the consumer in mind.
Yeah.
Always.
And that helps them because the rising tide lifts all the boats.
Absolutely. And that's what so many people, Google, have forgotten. Moz, forgotten. And if they ever get back to that.
It's like something I wrote in one of our scripts. It's like when they grow, we grow. When our clients grow, we grow. And that needs to be the philosophy for all
for all of us, especially in a recession. And then we also talk about if you're going to cut 3 things, right? Like, so if you're a marketer, especially if you're, you know, sitting in a revenue seat or like chief marketing officer role, VP, something to that effect, where you have to make cuts, you know, it's always people that come first. But sometimes you don't really want to cut the people. It's, you know, maybe you pull back on like paid advertising that you know is not going to have a huge splash right now, because or you know, and think about brand awareness in a different way, right? So it doesn't just have to be ads. Now I know what ranks with sponsored content, but this is where you can again work with influencers that you start developing your own influencers, putting out content like this. You don't have to necessarily cut people, you turn them into brand ambassadors.
Yeah, show yourselves to the world. That's one of the initiatives. Like that's what this is part of, right?
Totally.
Like, because we've always had ads and SEO. Like she was saying, we led in the rewards industry with digital advertising, SEO, blogs, all that kind of stuff. But in the B2B space, like there's a lot of people, it's all the same, you know? Like I felt like we said this on episode 1. There's a lot that's all the same. Like everybody's got their landing page.
I'm sorry. I thought you meant all the businesses. I'm like, no.
Partnership with Jay. Like right, you know, there's a lot of the same. But people want to know you. They want to do business with the people. They want to know that you're a partner. They want to know that you're going to give them service. And so like they value getting to know the company. And totally yourself out there like this is what people want to see.
And that's such an interesting point, right? Well, while everyone in our industry is a bit like influencer, and I'm not going to say any names like he just did. Hopefully you guys missed that. But ultimately, you could pay these people, but I, as a consumer, don't want to hear from that guy. I don't give a shit who he's promoting because I already know he's getting paid to do it, right? You know who I want to hear from? Your customers. That's why I always go and look at reviews. And most people I know today go and look at reviews before they make any decision first and foremost. You want to invest in something, invest in getting your clients to go and talk on your behalf. And when you develop loyalty to them and you're working with them during their lowest times, you can bet your bottom dollar that they're going to go and promote you, right?
You can bet your bottom dollars, or you can bet your top dollar.
Yes, you bet your bottom dollar so you can gain that top. You're 100% right. That's such a clever way of like thinking. Gotta go figure the punny guy. But other things, you know, I will say this though, if you do have to cut people, guys, it is a hard choice.
Start with art directors. That's it.
So Ken's sitting here. No. But you know, make sure that you are evaluating your teams, because this is the time to, you know, trim. I hate this expression of like trim the fat, but sometimes we all know, like if you're looking at employees,
we are big on 20, 60, 20. That's when you start looking at that bottom 20.
I know right now.
Yeah.
Well, and I had 9 bucks. I do some other things, but I know who my highest performers are. And if I could only keep 3, I can tell you today who I'd keep. And no, we're not going to get into that, but you know, I can also tell you the first 3 that I would cut. And it's not because they're not all great. I will tell you, I run a really smart, sharp team, so everyone is really good.
Yep.
But you're comparing, and while in a lot of companies you would all be considered A players, great job players, you're competing with each other always, right? And so you know, as a leader in an organization, you have to know who to let go. And a lot of times, guys, unfortunately, it's really where you're going to make those investments into your marketing strategy. So for example, if you're going to invest in turning your people into brand ambassadors, who has the best opportunity to truly become a brand ambassador? Not the person who hates it, right? And who's going to sit in a corner. Now, they may have a place in that, writing the scripts, etc., but you got to really figure that out, know your team's strengths and weaknesses, and make the right decisions. It's never easy, but sometimes it is necessary, especially in a recession. But I tell you what, guys, I do this here, and I have done this even in good times, and I highly recommend it. If I'm going to terminate someone, on grounds of just like a recession or I say recession, like, like say it's a skill set, right? And the way I look at it, let me go back for a second. I look at two things, attitude and skill set. If it's an attitude, I'll give you the weekend, which means, and I'm going to use you as an example, Adam, and this, I don't think has ever happened over your tenure here, but hey, I can tell that you're just not, meshing well with the team. I get the sensation they say you don't care or that you're angry or whatever it is. To me, that's an attitude thing. I'm going to give you the weekend. Next week, I want you to show up and I want you to be ready to either kick ass or turn in your 2-week notice. That's a fine conversation to have, and it is a necessary conversation to have. It's not threatening. It's, hey, let's do what's the best for the business. And if you come to me with a notice and say, hey, look, or maybe it's not a notice, maybe point 3 is, come to me and say, hey, look, you're right. I am not filling it. Like, this is, I don't have friends here, whatever it is, right? I don't like the work. Maybe I don't like you. All that's fine. But let's work together to say, okay, maybe it's not a 2-week notice, but what do you need in order to...
Well, maybe they're a better fit somewhere else here, or you help them get that thing, because it's not, it's
it's a mutual decision,
yeah,
right? I think too long in the past it's either been like, and you'll see this in the media, right? Oh, companies have all the power. Oh, employees have all the power. No.
Some places, it changes.
That's bullshit, right? Like, we should all, I hear you.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say it like that. But like, ultimately, we want to all work. Whenever I interview at a company, and I've done interviews, I've been poached and reached out to, like, it is me interviewing you as much as it is you interviewing me, and I will never let a business lose sight of that.
It's a date.
Ever. It absolutely is. And I can tell you pretty quickly whether or not we're going to work.
Yeah.
And if it's not going to work, that's okay. And in fact, and I want to kind of close this loop out, but ultimately, if someone's not working out, it is okay to give them a heads up. Like, hey, look, we're having some hard times. I'm going to have to make cuts. Think of this as like, and I always try to think of like, if I'm going to do a severance package, what's really good, understanding this market. So maybe it's like, I'm just going to use 3 months as an example. So we're going to give you a 3-month severance, right? However, and I'm not saying that's what you always get. I'm saying that use that as an example. I'm going to give you a month to go ahead and start looking. So for the next month, I need you to show up every day and bust ass. But at this date, we're going to be looking at termination. So what I also want you to do is spend your evenings looking. Right. Go ahead and start interviewing. I will work with you on that. Let's create an exit strategy. If it's just skill set based,
training
to get you out, right? To get you into, even if it's attitude, to get you somewhere that you want to be, right?
Yeah.
And last but not least, if you have that bottom 20 who's just a shitty employee, culture call moment, get them out. Get them out of your organization. A recession is a great time to do that.
Yep. So
yep. I have no words here. I'm gonna.
That's one of the
he's scared now. No.
And I'm going to show up every day and I'm going to kick ass and start making money. No.
One bad egg just has such a negative impact on everyone else. It's a virus. And so
a bad apple spoils the whole orchard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So thank you for joining us. I think that's it. We've already propped up ourselves. We think we did a great job during the recession. We've done the things we've preached. We hope they help you, and we hope not to face it again. Let us know in the comments how this tracked with your experience to date. I'm Adam.
And I'm Nichole. And guys, if you want to know more, you just want to pick up the phone and say, hey, let's just have a conversation. Tell me more about how you did client concessions, or talk to me more about marketing investments and cut. We're totally here for you.
Yep.
Give us a shout. We'll schedule some time. We'll talk through it. And, what's the worst that could happen? We have a few good laughs and we think about what's coming.
Yeah.
It's our jobs, right?
Yep. And then in the future, if you're not worried about a recession, you can get your incentive plan fired up and we take good care of you.
Give us a call. We're here for you.
1-866-567-7432. Put that on the screen, William. Thank you. And that's all we got. Until next time, I'm Adam again. I'm so repetitive today. Like, I'm so catenated.
All right, guys, we're the Mid Marketers. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.